Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter episode. Wait, no, bringing it back, bringing it back. Hunter x Hunter 2011 episode 138 review. Now, of course, the episode link is going to be where? In the box below on Crunchyroll.com. Now, this episode, 2 parts. Pariston Hill just doing his thing, making things more complex, pissing off people, just sitting there all smile. Just sparkling and shit. And then you have, of course, the more darker, the more gruesome bit of the episode that involves the Zoldyck family and the other brother that we don't know about, but now we're getting to know about, Aluka. So, basics. Animation overall was pretty good. Pacing, it was well structured. You had 2 main parts and that was it. There was no Jin Freaks, which is a shame. Because Jin Freaks is, it's always cool to see Jin Freaks do his thing, but he's no longer there. And no longer do we, he didn't show up to the meeting. I mean, that's why he's probably regarded as to be like the #1 slacker among the Zodiacs. Because this dude doesn't show up for meetings. Like, he'll show up for the more important meetings, but if it's not fun, then he'll just not show up to begin with. And then you had, there was no Hisoka and Illumi. When it comes to the character development, the main thing here, when it comes to character development, is just seeing a little bit more Pariston and seeing from a character interaction standpoint how there's clearly some tension mainly between Pariston and Cheeto. Now, granted, the other Zodiacs aren't a fan of Pariston, but it's Cheeto who has a deeper understanding of who Pariston Hill really is. And even deeper than her is Jin. In fact, she wishes that Jin was here because Jin is regarded to be just as off the wall, just as convoluted, just as, I guess the word here is, no, there's no word. But, no, there is a word, I just can't find the word, alright? So let's keep it simple. Basically, Jin will be able to compete with Pariston on that level of intellect and that level of, let's just leave it at that. I can't find the words. I'm lost in the library. Brain farted. Doesn't matter, alright? Before I shit myself, let me leave that a fart, okay? God damn it. So, moving on. When it comes to, and also, character development, Aluka. We find out about Aluka and why Aluka is pretty much shunned by, to a certain degree. Because we don't really know at what point in time Miluki actually asked for that computer, but Aluka is pretty much shunned by the rest of the family. And you can clearly see that in the sense that Papa decided to have Aluka in lock and keep, and it's like 5 or 4 gates. Like, just huge, giant steel gates from where her room is to, the rest of the facility. It's kind of fucked up, Dad, but then at the same time, your son is dangerous. That's the truth. Now, and let me get real quick too. Killua always refers to Aluka as a sister, but in reality, Aluka's a boy. The other members of the Zoldicks, their family, they refer to Aluka as a boy, brother. But that's why last episode, Illumi said the Zoldicks have another brother. But Killua says sister. So Aluka has, let's keep it simple, a complex wherein which Aluka probably considers herself to be a girl, but in reality is a boy. So gender identity crisis there, I don't know how you go with that, whatever. And finally, the last bit, story progression. Basically, when it comes to story progression, we found out that they had already done another round of votes. and they're changing up the rules so they can try and get closer to the 95% margin that they need when it comes to the Zodiac and the Hunter Association. And when it comes to the Zoldicks, pretty much that has allowed Killua to see Luca. And, oh, battery's almost dead. Whoa, battery. Hey, there you go. And pretty much that's now starting to where they're gonna finally have a conversation, because Luca apparently is the key to helping Gon, because Luca has this ability to grant wishes with consequences, with some severe ass consequences. So that being said, the more specific stuff, obviously. First of all, number one, Pariston. When it comes to what they're doing, in order to try and get closer to the 95% margin, they have two main rules. The first rule is number one, Beans. Beans is going to tally up the votes, or he's going to, I guess, sift through the votes before he tallies them, something like that, wherein which he will check to make sure that all the votes are validated, or they're good to go, pretty much. There are no blanks like Hisoka. There are no something that would break the rules that Jin set, pretty much. All right, that go along with the rules. So invalid and absentees votes, he'll count that up before he does the actual voting or the actual tallying. That's number one. And number two is what Pariston wants to do is that he wants to temporarily suspend pro hunters who are absent or who have invalid votes. That's what he wants to do. And then most of the debate stems from that, between him and Cheeto and Measy Ox. I can never say his name right. Fucking Ox. And then at some point, Kanzai got really pissed. Like, he got pissed because Pariston was talking shit. He was making fun of his level of intellect and mathematical skills. Kanzai got pissed. He put a foot on the table. And what surprised me the most was the first person to react, the first person to actually move, was Sheep, Ginta. With his big body, he had some serious speed where he just, well, not cross-legged, but he was sitting down he was sitting down on the table in front of Kanzai. And then came the staff of Monkey, and then came the snake of Gyros. Snake, yeah. So, well, the snake hand of Snake, Gero. And that's pretty much it. So that was pretty cool. And you had Kyle. He was standing up too with like some yellow card. Like he was a soccer referee. But point here is that, football. So, point here is that was fascinating. And basically the end result is that they've agreed to it, but they've also made some additional rules to where when it comes to the pro hunters, they're still considered pro hunters, even though their licenses will be temporarily suspended if they were absent or they had invalid votes. And that's not changing. So they're still hunters. And there was also another rule set in place by Cheeto. Oh no, not Cheeto, Pariston, where Pariston made another rule. I forgot what that one last rule was. But it was the rule where after Pariston said it with a smile on his face, as if like, because you had Cow, you had Ox, and you had Cheeto pretty much trying to figure out if he was going to abuse this system and try and rig the votes in his favor, which he didn't, and then he stated another rule. But of course this rule adds to the complexity, and again it's to the point where Cheetah was really wishing that Jin was here, because if Jin was here, he'd do his own stuff that would counteract Pariston stuff, and then the debate would go back and forth. And that's how it rolls right then and there. So, again, Jin, he's the type of person that, well, first of all, again, you don't expect him to be this way when you compare him to his son. His son's, dork. He has the dunce hat in the corner of the classroom. But Jin is he's in the front row, books and all, straight A student. So, like day and night. So, point here is that Jin, where he is, don't know. And there's actually a scene where we see Beans. Beans, he's standing over the box of votes, and it looks like someone either sifted through them or they were knocked down. Now, maybe it was Jin at some point. Jin said, because last episode he was kind of pissed that he didn't get to see the votes. Like, I want to know who's went for who. So maybe at some point Jin kind of like went in there and like sit through the fucking votes. Like, yeah, who's voting for who? All right, no one's who's voting for me? Yeah, I want to support their asses, some shit like that. But also, what's very important here in that dialogue, in that exposition, is why would Chairman Otero have someone like Pariston Hill be his vice chairman? Because Pariston Hill, he's not the dude you want. And that's what Cheeto is asking herself the entire time. She's asking herself, why Pariston Hill, of all people, this monster, why him? And then you have Beans have his own internal monologue, or a flashback, I should say, of Chairman Otero talking to him about how pretty much, I want Pariston, because Pariston's not a yes man. I want the vice chairman should be someone that pisses me off to high hell. Someone who is infuriating beyond all belief. Someone who is the furthest thing from a yes man. Pretty much my enemy. Now, it has been stated before that Chairman Otero, because he was so powerful, he usually let these things slide, or he would just do them so he could be entertained. But at this point in time, it looks like it's biting everyone else in the ass. Because Pariston, he ain't no bitch. He ain't no bitch, alright, man? He's the one who, wait, hold on, let me stop there. I was going to say something really risque. So let me not go any risque error, whatever. Let me just stop right there. Moving on. Whoa! There we go. Alright, fine. So moving on. That was my fault. Whatever. Next part. The main thing here, when it comes to the next part, and we see the interaction between father and son. I forgot what that thing was called, like the giant dog. I forgot what it was called. But it was gonna attack Killua. Killua's like, shit! And when Killua actually went back home, he opened 5 gates. Out of the 7 gates, he opened 5. That is very impressive. When they first went there, Go and the others could do only like 1. They were struggling with 1. But here, Killua comes back 5 gates. Yeah, nothing, not a big deal. So, and clearly he looks distraught. Goes over to Dad. Now, here's the main thing here. When it comes to Aluka, because Dad finally agreed, biting of the thumb, and he had the promise, blood, whatever. Fuck it. I don't know what it is called specifically, but it's like a blood handshake, like we're father and son, or we're best friends, whatever. Alright, Kyodai, fuck, whatever. Point here is this. When it comes to this part, the main and most important part here is this. When it comes to Aluka does have the power to restore Gon, but apparently there are some severe conditions. There are 3 main rules when it comes to her power. And the entire time, Silva, he's like, yo, Aluka's not human. Aluka came from someplace else, because Aluka's not human. And there are theories, there are theories that are deep when it pertains to Aluka. And the manga cats. And the manga cats know what I'm talking about. Because I've talked about before in the chapter reviews. There's some deep theories. And I don't know, man. That's kind of scary. That's true. But either way, when it comes to Aluka, this is how powers work. Her, his, whatever floats your boat. Number 1. Aluka can grant wishes if 3 of her requests are fulfilled. And apparently the wishes, as far as they know, the wishes have no limit to them. You can wish for whatever you want to. Now, to me, I think it's a stretch. For example, if I were to ask for a wish, like on some Raoul shit, like I want to seize the fucking heavens. Yeah. So Aluka, I want to seize the heavens, and I point to the sky and shit, like, yeah, the heavens. I highly doubt that Aluka could grant that wish. I highly doubt it. But this brings in rule number 2. And this is probably the most important rule. Where the person who has their wish granted is now exempt from any request from Aluka. But the next person who comes along and who wants wishes, or who winds up being in the vicinity of Aluka or something like that, if they have requests bestowed upon them by Aluka, so if Aluka asks for something, it's going to be extremely severe in comparison to the first round of requests. So, the example here in the episode, in the flashback, was this. Aluka, carry me, pick me up, go up the stairs. 3 easy, simple requests. Very simple, very easy. And then once that happens, Aluka's eyes, her face changes completely. And her normal pupils go completely jet black. And her mouth just looks sickly. Yeah. Her face is paler, as if like an entirely new entity takes over Aluka's body. And the person asks Aluka, I want to be a millionaire. And what ends up happening is, at that point in time, okay, fine. And there's this blimp overhead, and money just starts to rain down. 400 million. 400 million. And then what happened is, this involves rule number 3. The next person comes. And the next person comes, instead of having simple requests, like, walk me up the stairs, carry me, or throw me, the request became, give me your liver. What? And that's, when you first read that or watch that, you're like, what? What? Give me your liver. Give me your spine. Give me your heart. Give me your brain. And if you do not fulfill 4 of her requests, you die. And the closest person to you dies. And that's rule number 4. And that's rule number 3. Okay? Rule number 3. Where if you do not fulfill 4 of Aluka's request, you go bye-bye. And the closest person to you goes bye-bye. And you get crushed. Now, in the manga, obviously, it was way more graphic and gruesome. Like, whoa, oh no. But in the anime, they gotta, just have them disappear and just, blood. And that's it. That's the end result. But here's the thing. The thing here is that, and it was still pretty, nasty in the anime. Don't get me wrong. Like, you see that lady's face gets, like, crushed, and then it turns blue, and you're like, whoa. But the greatest danger is if the previous wish was that extreme, was like, again, $4 million, and a person cannot fulfill the request of the next round of requests, the severe ones, then they die, and the closest people that they love die, whatever. Their close friends die. Those close to them die. But the more severe the previous wish was, the more people die due to the failure of completing the request. So in this case, when it came to the first lady, she died and like her lover died or her best friend died, whoever, someone close to her died. Another butler died. However, in the second round or the third round, whatever, the person who Illumi guarded with the task of watching Aluka, she died, her lover died, and then an additional 67 people that the Zoldyck family know of, an additional 67 people who were close to both her and her lover died as a result. So you see the danger. Now, based on that alone, we don't know how severe Gon's condition is. But imagine the next round of requests. If not, imagine the fallout of the failure of the request if Gon is to be healed. That's why, just think about that. That's the reason why Aluka's locked. Like, they don't want her to get the fuck out because she's a danger to humanity itself. So, I am done. Overall, the episode I thought was great. And I will see you guys later. Well, it's simple, you know? Good plus. So, I will leave it at that. King Lightning, rate the video, comment, subscribe. Have a nice day.